Hello, everybody. This is the COTRI Weekly Editorial of the 2nd of November 2021 with the title The Accidentally Virtual Games. Well, in 3 months, the Winter Olympics 2022 will start, and 1 month later, the Paralympics. Officially, Beijing is the venue of the Games, even though the alpine competitions will take place hundreds of kilometers away from the Chinese capital. Acquiring the title of the only city which hosted both Summer and Winter Olympics was a major reason for the Chinese government to apply for an event which would cost many billions of renminbi for a city which has neither mountains nor much snow to qualify as a winter sport destination. Skiing, ice skating, and curling, and so on have actually no tradition in China. The Great Wall marked the limit of the Chinese civilization, with the snowy mountains of Manchuria being located north of it. The holy mountains of China are located in climate zones which have little or no snow, and the high altitudes of Sichuan and the Himalayas were almost inaccessible from the heartland of Chinese culture until the 20th century. The Qianlong Emperor in the 18th century is reported to have promoted ice skating as a typical Manchu activity to strengthen the identity of the rulers as non-Chinese. The first ice skating ring in China is supposed to have been opened in the Great World, the famous amusement center in Shanghai, which introduced audiences in the 1930s also to the hilarious and unsanitary Western idea of WCs, where you had to sit down on a porcelain bowl to relieve yourself. In 1978, during the first trip of myself to mainland China, our group was taken, mostly I think for lack of other events, one evening to an ice hockey game in Beijing between teams representing Heilongjiang and Beijing. We found that the audience was not much more interested in the sport than we were, following quietly the efforts of the players. We were told that to support the home team with chanting or applause would have been a sign of lack of solidarity with the visitors, thereby damaging the idea of national unity. But probably most of the audience had been given tickets by their dunways, their work units, and did not really care who was winning anyway. The number of successes of Chinese athletes in Olympic Winter Games cannot be compared to the dominance of China in the Summer Games, where China just a few months ago was beaten in Tokyo by just one gold medal for the title of the most successful team by the United States of America. Actually, it was only in 2002, so 20 years ago, for the first time that China managed to secure a gold medal. And if we look carefully, we can see that all but one of the 13 gold medals won in the last 20 years came from skating competitions. So maybe the Qianlong Emperor has an influence here. Compared with the total of 262 gold medals from the Summer Games, the gap becomes obvious. To change that, the Chinese government not only started programs to support winter sports in schools and universities, especially in the northern provinces, but also proclaimed that by the time of the Games, at least 300 million Chinese would have been turned into knowledgeable winter sport fans who would know the rules and the correct time to show support for the different disciplines, avoiding to make a fool of themselves in front of the international visitors by, let's say, continuing to cheer on a skier after he or she missed a goal in the slalom already. Alas, the virus has nixed all that considerations. No international spectators are allowed, and the Games will take place in a super bubble, which has already started with restrictions for the citizens of Beijing and the other areas, which will host some of the events. Accidentally, That will also reduce the number of foreigners making critical remarks about all the artificial snow and the environmental damage caused by the games. More than ever before, the games will be mostly an online show rather than a real event. Global brands are much less interested in the winter games compared to the summer games, but in this way, their interest of a perfect show without having to take into account the needs of the spectators on the ground can be catered for even better. For the organizers, the focus has shifted from the question of the success of Chinese athletes to the question of following Tokyo in staging Olympic Games and Paralympic Games without major outbreaks of COVID-19. Given the fact that more than 2.2 billion doses of vaccine have been administered in China already, and that most of the athletes and team members come from industrialized countries when it comes to winter games with high levels of vaccination, there's a good chance that there will be no major problems, which in turn will hopefully convince the government to open the borders for tourism in and out of China again. With that, as always, all best wishes from me, Professor Dr. Wolfgang Georg Alt, CEO of COTRI, and the entire COTRI Weekly team. Thank you very much.